Hey, watch out!
1992 was a year where Hollywood felt unusually confident in some strange ways. Studios leaned into high concepts and this will totally work energy, and then reality showed up and slapped them in the face.
Look, this isn't working. Some movie star you are.
I was in Goonies.
A lot of films from this year didn't just struggle, they confused people and quietly vanished from theaters. But time has a way of reshuffling the deck, and years later, these movies didn't just survive, they found a second life on VHS shelves, late night cable TV, and word of mouth rewatches. These are the 1992 movies that didn't land the first time around and somehow became unforgettable anyway.
Hello, my ragtime gal.
Once Upon a Crime, a madcap mystery set in Europe that tried to blend in farce, suspense, and star-studded chaos into one glossy package.
My name, Balboa, Rocky Balboa.
The premise was pure early 90s optimism, mistaken identities, Americans abroad, murder, money, and escalating misunderstandings. Unfortunately, it arrived to indifference. The tone fell all over the place, and it didn't catch fire in theaters. But revisiting it now, it plays like a snapshot of a very specific era of comedy. Fast-talking, ensemble-driven, and unapologetically silly. It's messy, but that's the part of the appeal.
70-30, but on the condition that you don't speak to me once during the entire trip.
70-30 is hardly worth my time. I'm in show business. I make that in an hour. 60-40, you got yourself a deal. Now, how come your eyes are so red? Have you been crying a little bit?
Let's not forget Mo Money, a movie that wanted to combine crime, romance, and stand-up comedy energy in a one single star vehicle.
Well, you didn't use the code. The fat man walks slowly. Well, the fat man needs to lose some weight.
It didn't quite click when it came out. Critics were harsh, ticket sales were underwhelming, and it was quickly written off. But over time, fans came to appreciate its style, the humor, the confidence. It feels like a time capsule of the early 90s, comedy that wasn't trying to be subtle. It wasn't made prestige. It wasn't made to entertain. And in hindsight, that honestly works in its favor.
Speak like a dog! What do you want me to do? Oh my God! Okay!
I wish my world was this cool. Cool World. One of the most infamous, what were they thinking, movies of the decade.
Don't piss me off, Wood! You go on that roof, you screw us all. I'm not messing around here.
A bizarre blend of live action and animation, adult themes, neon visuals, and a plot that felt like it escaped from someone's subconscious at 3 a.m. When it hit theaters, people didn't know how to react. It wasn't for kids. It wasn't fully for adults. It existed in this strange middle ground that confused almost everyone. Then time passed. It became a fascination, not because it's perfect, far from it, but because nothing else looks or feels like it. The visuals, the ambition, the sheer audacity, Cool World became a movie people couldn't stop talking about once they gave it a second chance.
I'm leaving, Pencil Dick. You just try and stop me.
Don't do it! Don't do it, girl! Oh!
Few movies from 1992 have a reputation quite like "Stop, or my mom will shoot." It was mocked immediately, critics roasted it, viewers looked away.
Mom, what are you doing here?
Mommy's gotta change you.
Mommy, I don't want to be changed.
I've gotta change you.
I can change you, change you.
Change you.
Will you stop trying to change me?
It became a shorthand for career misstep. And yet, people keep watching it. Why? Because it's absurd in a strangely comforting way. The premise is ridiculous. The execution is shameless. It's the kind of movie that feels like it was made during a long weekend and somehow survived anyway. A punchline turned into a guilty pleasure. The kind that you put on knowing exactly what you're getting.
Go ahead. Make your bed.
Then there's Mom and Dad Save the World, a sci-fi comedy that feels like it was built out of Saturday morning cartoon logic and leftover sets from another universe.
Hey you, what do you think? Which do you like better, mutton chops or goatee?
Mutton chops, my lord?
No, I like the goatee better. Shoot yourself in the head.
Aliens, ray guns, over-the-top villains, and jokes that never slow down. It barely made a dent when it was released, but kids who caught it on home video loved it, and those kids grew up. Now it's remembered fondly for its creativity, its silliness, and the fact that it fully commits to its weirdness. It doesn't wink at the camera, it just goes for it.
The Earthman has a light grenade for a head! What? Look! He has a light grenade!
Idiot.
Mr. Baseball is a movie that didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because it was quiet. A sports comedy about culture shock, ego, and learning humility, it didn't generate much excitement when it arrived. But over time, people found it. And when they did, they appreciated the sincerity. The humor comes from character, not noise. The fish out of water angle ages surprisingly well. It's one of those movies people discover years later and wonder why it didn't stick around longer.
And free mustache rides for the ladies.
I have seen free mustache rides offered on t-shirts in America, always by guys you would not want to ride with.
Some of us remember Freejack, a high-concept sci-fi action film with time travel. Body swapping, and a future that somehow looks more chaotic than the present. When it came out, it felt too complicated, too strange, too ahead of the curve for its own good. Now it's revisited, and it's fascinating. The ideas are big, the ambition is obvious, and even when it stumbles, it never feels boring. Freejack became one of those movies people remember vividly, not because it was polished, but because it dared to be different. These were the movies from 1992 that stumbled out of the gate but refused to disappear. They weren't clean hits, they weren't critical idols, but they stuck around long enough to earn appreciation on their own terms. 1992 wasn't just a year of blockbusters. It was a year of strange ideas that needed time to breathe. And sometimes, time is the only thing a movie really needs.
A year I waited for this shot, Ed, and you put me on after the Beatles? There you go. I can't believe this.
Stop doing that.
Cue the band.
Anyway.
Cue the band.